I'm just gonna sit out on the porch and I'm gonna look for a restaurant. Yes, there we are. Okay. I think we are all here.
Okay, good evening. The March 11th, 2025 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart is present. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy is present. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines is present. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley is present. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Cruz is excused. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman is present. Mrs. DeFlorio.
Here.
DeFlorio is present. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman is present. Ms. Hughes Smith. Ms. Hughes Smith is present. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. Mr. Long. Mr. Long is present. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci is present. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe is present. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre is present. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne is present. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is present. President Roman.
Here.
President Roman is present. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Mr. Edelson. Mr. Edelson is present.
Thank you. Please stay seated. I'd like to introduce Reverend Cheryl Frank of Greece Baptist Church, who has been invited by Legislator Hughes Smith to lead us in a moment of prayer.
With a Thanksgiving address inspired by the Onondaga Nation. Greetings and thanks to each other as people, to the earth, mother of all, greetings and thanks. To all the waters, waterfalls, rain, rivers, oceans, greetings and thanks. To all the fish life, greetings and thanks. The grains and greens, beans and berries, as one we send thanks to plant foods. Medicine herbs of the world and their keepers, greetings and thanks. To all animals and their teachings, greetings and thanks. The trees for shelter and shade, fruit and beauty, greetings and thanks. To all birds, large and small, joyful greetings and thanks. And from the four directions, the four winds, thank you for purifying the air we breathe and giving us strength. Greetings. The thunderers, our grandfathers in the sky, we hear your voices, greetings and thanks. And now, the light of the day and all the fires of life, greetings and thanks. To our oldest grandmother, the moon, leader of women all over the world, and the stars for their mystery, beauty, and guidance, greetings and thanks. To our teachers from all times, reminding us of how to live in harmony, greetings and thanks. And for all the gifts of creation, for all the love around us, greetings and thanks. And for that which is forgotten, we remember, we end our words. Now our minds are one. And here is a metta prayer from the Buddhist tradition. May all beings in our county be peaceful. May all beings in our county be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings awaken to the light of their true nature. May all beings be free. And now, dear Creator, as we gather together, we ask blessings on the Seneca Nation of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, on whose lands we are meeting. May our discussions be marked by respect, understanding, a commitment to the common good. Help us to listen attentively to one another with open hearts and minds, and to make decisions that reflect justice, compassion, and service. Help us to consider all perspectives, hear all voices, seek solutions that are fair and just, with integrity and compassion. May we overcome disagreements and find common ground to foster unity and collaboration. May the matters we discuss lead to positive outcomes, and may we continue to strive for a community that is just, compassionate, and loving. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Frank. Want to present you with a certificate on behalf of the county legislature. There you go. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Please stand as Legislator Mafucci will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Your copies of Day 2, February 11th is available through Novus Agenda. Without exception, this journal will stand approved as submitted. I do have 2 announcements today. On the first, I'd like to wish a happy belated birthday to our clerk of the legislature, David Grant. Happy belated birthday. All right, thank you. And as we all know, March is Women's History Month, a time to honor the remarkable women in our community and recognize our resilience, achievements, and contributions, both throughout history and within this very governing body. Monroe County holds a significant place in the women's suffrage movement. And this year, we commemorate the 105th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. From the pioneering efforts of Susan B. Anthony to the leadership of women legislators serving today, Women's History Month reminds us of the progress we have made and the work that still lies ahead. As we reflect on this progress in this very chambers that were named after her, it is only fitting to acknowledge a true trailblazer, Joanne Van Zandt, the first woman president of the Monroe County Legislature. I didn't know if anybody knew that, but the chambers are named after her, so we should definitely recognize. Her lifelong dedication to advancing women in government was inspiring, paving the way for future leaders and presidents like President Sabrina Lamar, myself, and many women who will follow in our footsteps. Our commitment to uplifting and supporting women of Monroe County must extend beyond March, especially in this political climate. It is a responsibility that we must carry every day, ensuring continued progress and opportunity for generations to come. Women have always been the backbone of society. They are, for many of us, our first teachers, not only in the classroom, the silent leaders, and the guiding light that shaped generations. Thank you for recognizing Women's History Month with me. We'll now move on to the presentation of petitions and communications. Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on Novus Agenda as well as online. There are several proclamations scheduled for this evening. Mr. Clerk.
Would members of the Urban League of Rochester please come forward? Also, County Executive Adam J. Bello, legislators Michael Udelson, Mercedes Vasquez Simmons, and President Yaversha Roman.
The Monroe County Legislature recognizes the Urban League of Rochester's 60th anniversary. Whereas it is the sense of this county to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live. Attendant to such concern, these officials are justly proud to honor the Urban League of Rochester 60th anniversary. And whereas the Urban League of Rochester was established in 1965 as a dedicated affiliate of the National Urban League, with a mission to enable African Americans, Latinos, and other underserved communities to secure economic self-reliance, parity, power, and civil rights. And whereas for 6 decades, the Urban League of Rochester has been an instrumental force in promoting equity and opportunity through its extensive programs in education, workforce development, homeownership, entrepreneurship, and youth services. The Urban League has empowered countless individuals and families, providing them with resources, training, and support to improve their quality of life and achieve financial stability. And whereas the Urban League's dedication to advocacy, leadership, and economic development has helped foster a stronger, more inclusive community, ensuring that all individuals have access to opportunities that allow them to thrive by breaking down barriers to success, advocating for equitable policies, and partnering with local businesses, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations to create lasting positive change. And whereas the Urban League of Rochester's 60 years of service stand as a testament to the power of collective action, community engagement, and the enduring pursuit of social justice as it continues to uplift generations through mentorship, financial empowerment, and leadership development, ensuring that future communities benefit from its tireless efforts. Now, therefore, we, Monroe County Executive Adam J. Bello, Monroe County Legislature President Iversa Roman, Vice President Mercedes Vasquez Simmons, Majority Leader Michael Udelson, and the members of the Democratic majority do hereby proclaim March 11th, 2025 to be a time to recognize the Urban League of Rochester's 60th anniversary in Monroe County and call upon every resident to recognize this milestone anniversary.
Thank you. Sure. First of all, on behalf, I'm proud to share this and share this with the team and the board. I'm here today with our Executive Vice President Tiffany Owens and Donna M. Jones, who's the Director of our Workforce Development Programs. And we are just honored. I'm Charnel Hawkins, I serve as President and CEO, but we're honored to be recognized by the county legislative body. And so thank you to, first of all, our County Executive Bello and our President Roman. We're grateful for this honor. This reaffirms for us that the county sees the work that we're doing. It reaffirms our partnership. We have, in the last few years, really strengthened our relationship as a partner to the county with the raise work that we've been doing. But we want everyone to know that the Urban League is here for everyone in this community. And it is our goal to strengthen and make this community, the county, the city, the greater Rochester area, a more equitable community. And that is our mission. And we want to reaffirm that today. And this proclamation certainly does that for us. So we go back to the league, continuing to empower our community, strengthen our community, but know that you are our partners and you see our work. So thank you. Thank you for this esteemed honor. And we thank the entire legislative body for recognizing the Urban League of Rochester on this milestone occasion of 60 years of serving this community. And thank you.
Would Andrea Lista, Jarmila Hassler, and Brenda Avedizian please come forward? Also, County Executive Adam J. Bello, Legislators Michael Udelson, Steve Brew, and Iversa Roman.
Whereas since the city of Rochester's founding in 1817, Monroe County has been home to a rich and thriving agricultural history, earning our county's largest city the nickname Flower City. Today, agriculture continues to play a large role in the fabric of our community. And whereas currently there are over 30,650 farms and 6,502,286 acres of operated farmland in New York State, with Monroe County being home to over 500 farms and 92,000 acres of operated farmland. March signifies a national celebration of the importance of food and agriculture in the United States, as it is the source of products consumed and used daily. This month, we recognize and celebrate the diversity and abundance provided by New York's farms and our growing food and agricultural sector and the contributions of Monroe County's family farmers. And whereas New York State's agricultural industry contributes more than $8 billion annually in agricultural sales to the New York economy. Farmland occupies nearly 1/4 of New York State's land, providing access to fresh, locally sourced food, preserving open space, and enhancing community quality of life. And whereas preserving and growing our local agricultural community is important to the vibrancy of our local community and economy. Commemorating Agricultural Month will build awareness of the benefits and the agricultural industry in Monroe County and encourage young people to consider agriculture as a career. And whereas Monroe County urges its residents to join us in recognizing the importance of our food and agricultural industry, to thank a farmer for providing the food we eat and prepare meals using a variety of New York State produced products. We must never forget the hard work and dedication of all of our farms nationwide. Now, therefore, we, Adam J. Bello, County Executive, Iversha Roman, President, Michael Udelson, Majority Leader, and Steve Brew, Republican Leader, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby proclaim the month of March to be National Agriculture Month in Monroe County.
But I want to thank you. I want to thank all of you for the support that you've given Cornell Cooperative Extension, the Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District, the Farm Bureau. All of our farmers, they really depend on your support and your understanding of how important their role is to ensuring that our residents are well fed, that they have good nutrition, that helps our economy. Agriculture has so many different threads in our lives. It's the foundation of so many different things, and we want to make sure that it's healthy and strong. And you know, additionally to that, the farmland protection plan, all of these things are just so important, and your support is what helps us enables us to be able to do the things that we do to help our farmers. Your support leverages over $2 million in boots on the ground specialist support that helps the economy, helps our farmers. The support that you offer for our nutrition programs, that's part of our agriculture program as well. So I just want to make sure that you know that the Monroe County Soil and Water District, Kelly Emmerich, she wasn't able to be here tonight. She wants to thank you as well for your support. I know the Farm Bureau appreciates the support that you've given them. Jenny Lundberg and Yarmila and I just really appreciate how you've responded to us when we reached out. And yeah, you're a great body and a great support to agriculture, and that's just so appreciated. I do want to thank Executive Bello, President Rahman, Legislators Udelson and Steve Brew for their support every year, always taking the time to really honor and highlight agriculture and the importance in our community. Lastly, I want to just give you a little bit of a heads up. We are going to be doing a farm tour this summer for our legislators. So I really hope that you will consider joining us. We're going to be sending out a save the date soon, and the Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District and CCE Monroe are organizing it together. So it's going to be a great tour. We don't want you to miss it. So I hope that you'll join us for that when we send the information out. So again, thank you so much. Appreciate each and every one of you. You've been so supportive, and we honestly couldn't do our work without that support. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're moving now on to presentation of formal committee reports. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We'll now hold the public forum. Thank you to everyone who has signed up for the public forum. We ask that you maintain decorum during this time. We will not tolerate any disruptions during this meeting from the gallery. A warning will be issued before a deputy will be asked to remove you from the gallery. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature. Please do not bring up any signs or props. Do not single out any legislators, and please conclude when the buzzer sounds. Thank you for your cooperation. The first 3 speakers are Terrence Schnurr, Kevin Lockhart, Reverend Richard Myers.
No.
In children's stories, the good guys and the bad guys are usually very clearly delineated. But in real life, it is often not that simple. Nowhere is that more true than between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. Far too many people there and around the world see that land through the lens of one or another fable woven together from cherry-picked facts, half-truths, and fiction, with the message that, with the mirror image messages that half the children and adults there are victims and can stay, and the other half are transgressors and must be driven into the sea. Until more people reject those narratives and insist that a way be found that all the people of that land can have some semblance of peace, security, and self-determination, the cycle of retribution will continue, and we will all bear some responsibility. As to what flags replace the Irish tricklers on the sidewalk when they're taken down, it just doesn't matter. May the God of Keturah, Hagar, and Sarah bless all the children of Abraham. Thank you and have a good night.
Hello?
Did you just start it before I got to the lectern?
I think she reset it.
Please,
If you'd,
thank you.
we can start it now. though.
Okay.
Thank you.
This criminal organization, calling itself Monroe County Government, has aligned itself with narcotics traffickers, violent street gangs, money launderers, and child traffickers, all for the purpose of profit. It is crucial that we all reject both the Democrat and the Republican bylines and form an independent movement. Together, we can produce legislative equity for the citizens living in the daily nightmare of our county election districts by aligning this Board of Elections with the 14th Amendment. The moment we decentralize this government to create checks and balances in the form of volunteer elected school board committees in the Rochester school districts, the child traffickers in the RCSD will go elsewhere to find a different treasury to traffic children through for profit. I'm also here to oppose the blanket bond for the Genesee Valley Regional Planning Council, which is a cover scheme for coordinated care services and the Morelli Network. Feel free to come back and ask for funding when you have specific details about how you want to spend my money. Secondly, no to using my taxes to fund a sidewalk project on East Ave. That's a city problem. Thirdly, as a resident of Webster, I'm opposing the renaming of the Lake Lodge to the Jameson Ritter Lodge solely on the basis that the legislator proposing it is an agent of the murderous child exploitation Pan-Hellenic Council Network, a notorious anti-police organization that only a few weeks ago murdered 20-year-old Caleb Wilson and was also closely tied into the Maplewood mass shooting where two beautiful innocent women, Taisha and Felicia, died in the crossfire of your politics. Fourthly, Dr. Michael Mendoza, during the COVID vaccine rollouts, shut down the adverse events reporting system to prevent citizens from having informed consent, which is a major crime. To everyone listening, centralization of this government and its power has defeated the concept of checks and balances. Do not be fooled by this administration's lies and divisive tactics. We must enact our collective vision to achieve peace. The Board of Elections must align with the 14th Amendment to ensure legislative equity in the city school districts primarily. Doing so will frustrate the billion-dollar child trafficking industry perpetrated by the RCSD and the Vice President Treasurer.
Thank you very much. No, welcome.
My name is Richard Myers. I'm pastor emeritus at Emmanuel Baptist Church here in the city of Rochester and a longtime advocate for Palestinian rights as well as Jewish rights. And I'm here to appeal to you to take down the flag of Israel. We went out in front to see if it was there, and it's gone because of St. Patrick's Day. All the other flags are St. Patrick's Day. I visited Israel and Palestine on several occasions, one of them over 50 years ago. Many of my friends still live in Israel, Palestine. Every Thursday morning at 11 o'clock, I gather for worship with people from that part of the world. There are still a lot of Christians who support the Palestinian rights. The largest Zionist group in the country is Christian, and yet there are many Christians who are not Zionists but are working for peace. As we speak, phase one of the ceasefire agreement has passed, and phase two is not yet materialized. Phase one seemed to go well. People were released, the hostages were released, and prisoners were released, and the violence was greatly reduced. People have begun to move back to the northern part of Gaza. Phase two, signed by Hamas and Israel, agreed that the ceasefire would be permanent. The release of the remaining living hostages by the Palestinians would be done, and prisoners would continue to be released from Israel, and that Israel would withdraw its forces from Gaza. But this is stopped. This is not happening. Instead, Israel is suspending all goods and supplies, including life-saving humanitarian aid, from entering Gaza. The Israeli War Cabinet decided to break from the Gaza ceasefire agreement, and its ministers called to, quote, reopen the gates of hell in Gaza. Hundreds of trucks are stuck at the border, cannot bring in the relief supplies, and the food is rotting on the trucks. By flying the flag of Israel, the citizens of Monroe County are led to believe we support this action. We do not.
Please wrap up. Please
I
wrap up.
believe really that only through prayer and meditation and the lovely prayer that my sister offered at the beginning can we come together and quit hating one another, quit dehumanizing one another,
Thank
and
you,
listen
sir.
carefully.
Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Brenda Lyons, Amy D'Amico, and Ellen Henry.
Where's my new friend, Mr. Henry? He's not here? He was
Yeah,
here.
sure.
Okay, my name is Brenda, and I'm an alcoholic, and I've been sober for 39 years. My other friend, Charlene, couldn't be here tonight. She's working at Outdoor Mission, Open Door Mission, and I want to say thank you for letting us share our experience with the personal mission of helping the homeless. For 2 years now, Charlene and I have been providing warm meals, like things like chilies and spaghetti and macaroni and cheese, hot dogs and beans, energy drinks, the milk, the nutritious milk, all of this. We've been doing it all. Clothes, shoes, and, hand lotion, shampoo, all the things that you don't have when you're homeless. You don't have that. Charlene and I provide it. We have people that back us, not agencies. We're on our own. And we get our money from Wayne County, Livingston County, Ontario County, and Monroe County. And those are our friends who want to help. We want to help end homelessness. They can't do it, but they're so happy that we do it. We get our money and donations from them. It's a community. We work as a community. We've been there through those through all the weather. It's been rough. Now I'm all messed up. And, and, I'm just gonna keep it really short. The answering, oh, shit. Please wrap up. The answer's not blowing in the wind. The answer's right here with you. And you
Perfect.
can make the change.
Thank you very much.
Love you, Brenda. My name is Amy Diamico. I'm a member of Rochester Grants Pass Resistance. In a few days, the only low barrier shelter in Monroe County will close its doors. The fault rests with the county. DHS workers must get a productivity award for how many homeless individuals they manage to kick off temporary assistance. Sometimes a person is kicked off DHS because they receive SSI and didn't save their receipts. Though we all know they can't afford housing and they are homeless, but they get kicked off DHS for being over income. They must get awards for kicking people off DHS for not gathering enough landlord statements, even though we all know there are not enough apartments, nor can people who are unhoused afford the application fees. People get found ineligible when they miss appointments, even though they do not have the resources to make it, like a bus pass, or have mental health issues, or don't even know about the appointment. Some people are outright denied DHS, and it's usually because they're missing documentation. Are DHS workers getting awards for denying more applications than their peers? The denial rate in Monroe County is striking. The number of people applying does not make sense either, except that people must be applying again and again and again because Monroe County keeps denying their eligible applications, and shelters carry the burden. The shelters get paid around $75 a night per person, and unless they are operating under the emergency rule of Code Blue, they are only paid when the guest is eligible. You can see why the DHS workers might be incentivized to deem people ineligible. Then the bed night is not paid for by the county. This made it impossible for the only low barrier shelter to stay open. Project Haven is closing March 21st. Too many guest stays were not funded. The county nickel and dimed the shelter, checking the records to make sure every human being was not only eligible, but stayed eligible to stay alive each night. It is a perversion of care for the needy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ellen Henry, a longtime resident of Pittsford, Barrington. I want to thank you for completing the climate action plan, and we are really pleased to know that a sustainability engineer is to be hired, and hopefully followed by more staff that will be focusing on climate action. Our many Color Your Community Green teams have been advocating here for 3+ years for several climate-related actions, notably for county-wide composting facilities. Sadly, this goal has not yet been met. We recognize that a relatively small fraction of the total greenhouse gas emissions in the county are attributable to waste processing, including landfills. But it is still a significant piece of the whole, and surely diversion of food waste away from landfills to composting is low-hanging fruit compared to the various other many changes needed to minimize our emissions. Furthermore, landfilled organics produce methane, as you know, a more potent and shorter-lived greenhouse gas than CO2. But this is an opportunity. Minimizing methane emissions as quickly as possible is actually the fastest way to immediately slow the rate of warming. And sort of related to that, I will add that biodigestion, as per the Pittsford pilot program last year, should not be a primary option. It also produces methane and the consequent leakage, and produces no valuable end product, i.e. compost. It's inexcusable that food scraps from Monroe County are now trucked 50+ miles in order to be composted. We appreciate the intention to ensure an optimal program is designed, but too much time and money have been wasted on studies and surveys. Composting is not rocket science, it's not high tech, and it has been done successfully in many of our peer communities. So please, let's get those facilities up and running here to serve all of our residents.
Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Chrissy Miller, Cody Donahue, and William Adams.
Hi, my name is Chrissy Miller. I represent Vocal, and I'm here talking about transportation. My story is not happy, one. Me and my child travel a lot, and I don't have a lot of money to do what I want to do or go to different places. I'm always missing doctor's appointments or whatever. I'm also constantly getting denied with RTS access. And that's not right it's not right at all because my son is autistic. Why I can't get the help to get me and my son place after place after place without keep on coming out of my pockets when I can't afford it. We need to do that a little bit better by if the access, RTS access keep on denying me and my doctors have a doctor's reason why I can't take the bus, but you still doing a test, assessment test, and that should not go. Now, if I can't make it, I can't do it. So I need to have other help to get me and my son back and forth where we need to go. Two, um, families are having trouble getting back and forth. They missing doctor's appointments. They missing a lot of other educational, you name it, DSS appointments, you name it. And that's not right. We need to do better with our transportation. We need to have more busing. We don't have a lot of bus stops like we used to. They redid them or discontinued them. And I think we don't need that. We can't hardly, when we go to our appointments, we have to walk a whole mile just to get to where we need to go. And that's not okay. Please, please fix that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chrissy. Good evening. My name is Cody Donahue. I'm the co-executive director of Reconnect Rochester. And we're joining with Chrissy and other Vocal New York leaders in a new coalition called New Yorkers for Transportation Equity. So I've spoken to this honorable body in the past, and I'm here to provide some updates on equitable transportation as it relates to the Monroe County Active Transportation Plan and the Climate Action Plan. So we're here to share Reconnect Rochester and Vocal New York's support for local and statewide efforts to reduce our reliance on personal vehicles and increase funding for public transit, as Chrissy was talking about. That will reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, it will reduce air pollution, and improve equity in Monroe County. And currently the situation is not equitable, as Chrissy said. In Rochester, areas home to low-income residents typically face longer commute times, 40 minutes or more using the bus. Meanwhile, the average car commute is 20 minutes or less in our region. So as also someone said earlier about accessing healthcare, this directly impacts people's access to healthcare. Every minute added to their commute threatens their chances at getting medical care, missing an appointment, or may even discourage them from seeking medical care in the first place. A recent report showed that our vehicle miles traveled, the miles we travel in our personal vehicles, increased by 6% in the Rochester region from 2019 to 2024. That means there's more cars on the roadway, exposing people to more pollutants. And if you live near a highway, unfortunately, you are 4 to 6.5% more likely to have health issues related to that air pollution. So the solution that we're proposing is to support the Get Around New York Act. New Yorkers for Transportation Equity is calling on New York State to stop wasteful expansion of highways and force the state to maintain what we have now and fund alternatives to driving. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Adams and I'm a disabled veteran. I'm here to talk about the 1.2 miles each way, 2.4 mile round trip that the veterans currently have to walk each year, year round, from the bus stop at the Marketplace Mall to the Veterans Outpatient Clinic on Calkins Road. Now, while doing this research for this speech, I came across an outstanding interview about a World War II veteran who was one of the 4 Bs on the undefeated University of Rochester Yellow Jackets basketball team. And sir, I'd like to thank you for your father's service. That interview talked about the basketball player himself, him leaving for the war in Okinawa, but also about his delay in deployment because of his unusual 14 AA feet and the need for custom-made boots. Now, that interview talked about the player's return, that he really didn't talk about his time in service, that the time in service was downplayed, but that maybe, just maybe, that delay in getting those custom boots for his unique feet may have just saved his life. Now, I thought about the 4 Bs of that article, his unusual feat, my time in the Corps, and as an NCO, the 4 Bs of NCO leadership: beds, beans, bullets, and benefits. Benefits. The benefits those unique sized feet I'm sure would need from the VA after the war. And whether those unique feet could walk those 2.4 miles round trip year round as an elderly veteran. And would you want him to? Lest we forget that our veterans are on an undefeated team too. And as that interviewer said, the war is never over for the warrior and is also never over for those who love the warrior. That's why we're here today. We love veterans and we don't forget. And remember, veterans vote.
Thank you. Thank you for your service and thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Sars Mitchell, David Ferber, and Joanne Thomas.
Hello, everybody.
Oh.
My name is Sarge Mitchell. I'm a combat disabled veteran. I stand before you today not to ask for help for a monument, not for a parade, but for something far more fundamental: a bus stop. A simple, accessible bus stop at our local VA hospital at 260 Calkins Road. Let's be clear, this isn't about convenience, it's about dignity. It's about honoring the men and women who risked everything for us, who stood in harm's way so we could sleep soundly at night. These are our veterans, our heroes. Too many of them are struggling to access the very health care they earned. Veterans deserve a direct public line of transportation, just like everyone else does to their hospitals, not needing to schedule rides ahead of time. There's a double-lane bus loop at the VA with an RTS bus sign already there. 2 separate signs stating where to meet the bus, guiding veterans to a bus stop where no bus comes. When the hospital opened its doors, it was told that Calkins Road was on a bus line. Veterans need to get to their appointments, not long walks. Sorry. We have to schedule rides sometimes ahead of time, which doesn't work for most veterans. We have to rely on programs instead of being able to be independent and free. We fought for our freedom. Veterans deserve to have the freedom to hop on a bus, go to the VA whenever they want to on a moment's notice. We owe my fellow veteran community more than gratitude. We owe them action. We owe them accessible health care. A dedicated bus stop is a tangible way to demonstrate that we value their service and we are committed to their well-being. I say it's a matter of principle. It's a matter of respect. It's a matter of fulfilling our promise to those who have given so much. Think of the relief it would bring. Think of the independence it would restore, the freedom they fought for. Sending the message that this community, that we remember and we care, that we honor our veterans, not with just words, but with deeds. It isn't about politics, it's about the greatest Americans, our veterans. Let's show them that their service matters, their health matters, and let's do the simple dignity of giving them a bus stop. And thank you. Remember, vets vote.
Hello, my name is David Sperber. I'm a medical doctor. I'm Jewish, and I've been to Gaza. I'm here again to talk about the state of democracy in Monroe County. Two fundamentals of democracy require that the government cares about and reflects the will of the people, and that it respects the rule of law. Regrettably, Monroe County government is falling short on both counts, as demonstrated by its determination fly the flag of Israel. Despite many polls showing that most Americans favor an arms embargo against Israel, this county government chooses to honor Israel by flying its flag. Despite 7 people addressing this disparity in the last meeting of this legislature, the flag continued flying, and the minutes of that meeting don't even mention the issue. In the same vein, I have asked both in person and by email to meet with the county executive, which requests have been met with silence. The county government also displays a disrespect for the rule of law. The International Court of Justice, the highest court in the world, has cited Israel for genocide, and this government says, we don't care. New York state law prohibits the flying of a foreign flag by a government entity, and this government replies, that's of no concern to us. When government ignores certain laws, what's to stop it from violating other laws, any laws? We call on this government to care about true public opinion and not just the special interests like AIPAC and the Jewish Federation. Instead of ignoring our request for meetings, meet with us and hear what we think and why we think it. Respect international and state law. Leave the Israeli flag down. You'll be showing that both democracy and morality still exist in Monroe County. And I also want to say that we call on the legislature to act upon this, have a discussion, and have it be part of the public record so that we're not just talking up here, that there's a response. Thank you for
Yeah.
listening.
Thank you.
Good evening. Most of you know me. I'm Joanne Thomas. I'm the daughter of Sergeant George Miles Sr., who 4 years ago this coming Saturday died from the cruel effects of isolation in our community, along with thousands of other precious souls. I am here this evening to honor my dad and all our veterans. Captain Donald Rose, a decorated Purple Heart veteran, lies in our Holy Sepulchre Cemetery with no headstone. He's been without that headstone for 15 years. His son, George, who my father would say is a great name, has jumped through every hoop asked of him. He's completed numerous forms, made phone calls, emails, FOIL requests, and many of us in the community, including myself, have spoken to politicians, congressional aides, and even the director of the National Archives, and no one can locate his DD 214. Did it burn in the 1973 fire? Is it lost? If so, what's the process to replace it? I ask you, how many people does it take to get a headstone for a hero? How many years do we allow a hero to be deprived in our community of honor and dignity of his name and rank on his grave, his final resting place? You say you love and support our veterans, but if you do, why did you wrap an RTS bus to honor them, but don't have a bus stop outside the VA? Why do you walk in parades telling us it's to honor our veterans, but think it's okay for them to walk 22 minutes from the closest bus stop if on-demand is not available? Do you do it for photo ops, name recognition, to make one party look better than the other, or do you do it because you love our veterans? If it's truly for the latter reason, I ask you to do everything in your power to get this hero his headstone and to get an RTS bus stop outside the VA. Do it for our veterans. Do it to honor my father. Thank you. God bless our veterans.
Thank you.
Our next two public forum speakers are Robert McFarland and Mickey DePerna.
The clock started? Yes, I wasn't even sure I really wanted to be here tonight, but the synchronicity happened. I have two daughters. My oldest daughter will turn 34 this Saturday, the Ides of March. When she was a little girl, she used to Irish step dance. She texted me kind of out of the blue. She doesn't often initiate contact. She said, "Daddy, are you in New York City? If so, at the demonstration. If so, please be safe." Well, I'm obviously not at the demonstration in New York City. She knows I demonstrate weekly on behalf of Palestine and against genocide and ethnic cleansing. The second synchronicity was when I was driving here, I heard one song on my favorite radio station, Outlaw Country. It was by Guy Clark. It was called Dublin Blues. So yes, I was meant to be here. And the third synchronicity was hearing the Hadi Nashoni prayer of thanksgiving. And it's not a criticism of who read the prayer. Usually that's an hour-long prayer. I've sat through one of those. And yeah, anyway, I don't need to belabor that point. So here I am. The flag of Ireland is here flying. No foreign flag needs to be flying, should be flying. It's against state law. That's been brought to your attention. Do not, when those Irish flags come down, do not put back up the flag of Israel. And since we're talking about Ireland and Ireland is being honored, on January 7th, Ireland challenged genocide definition. Ireland formally intervened on January 7th in South Africa's genocide, in quotes, case against Israel at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Ireland's intervention seeks to broaden the long-standing definition of genocide, with Dublin claiming that, quote, intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group as genocide is defined under the 1948 Genocide Convention. And I could go on, but I won't. I'm glad I came here tonight. Free Palestine, honor Ireland.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mickey. My pronouns are they, he, and I am a member of Rochester Grants Pass Resistance. And I live in the city of Rochester. The closing of Project Haven is a clear indication of Monroe County's failure to acknowledge the housing crisis and the catastrophic levels of houselessness that have been growing year after year. I'm here today to urge all of you to do better. Project Haven was one of only 2 shelters that openly accepted LGBTQ adults. The other one being the Salvation Army, which as a national organization lobbies against things like gay marriage. Project Haven was the only one, the one and only low barrier shelter in the county. We know of 5 or 6 people that were staying at Project Haven that now have nowhere else to go and are considering sleeping outside. Why did you not give them the Code Blue grant? Why? We know that the shelters, the Code Blue shelters, have been at capacity since the beginning of Code Blue. They're still at capacity. They're making spaces in office rooms. Why not Project Haven? Why were they not given that money? Because now they have to close their doors. At one point, Project Haven had 80 beds. That's 80 beds lost. In a county where we have 800 to 1,000 unhoused people with different definitions of unhoused, but unhoused nonetheless. And more than half of them not being able to make it into a shelter. We know that that Code Blue money could have saved Project Haven. What you are doing to these people, you'll never see. because you don't see them now. When you get off the interstate and they're panhandling, how do you look at them? With judgment? Your judgment is killing people. Please do better. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
Okay. All right, at this time, we will recess the March 11th, 2025 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature and will convene the Gates Chili Ogden Sewer District of the Pure Waters Administrative Board. Mr. Clerk, please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
You have agenda item number 1, referral 25-0031, authorizing alteration of Gates Chili Ogden Sewer District assets by New York State Department of Transportation during New York Route 33A and New York Route 259 intersection safety improvements project in town of Shiloh.
Moved by legislator Burgess, second by legislator Hugh Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. We'll now recess the Gates Chili Ogden Sewer District and adjourn the Pure Waters Administrative Board. The March 11th, 2025 meeting of the legislature is reconvened. And we will now proceed with the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk read the next item on the agenda? Yes, legislator.
I'll read those two.
Can you read them out loud? Just,
Yep. And just for reference, legislators, obviously the mics are new.
yes.
Just make sure that the button in front of you is green when you go to speak into it. If it's red, it won't be on, so, just a heads up. We're moving the agenda except for item numbers 2, 6, 7, 11, 12, 16, 18, 23, 24, 25.
And that was moved by legislator Uelzen, seconded by legislator Brew. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Item carries. We are now on item number 2.
Item number 2, referral 25-0032, authorizing intermunicipal agreements with Monroe County Public School Districts and Board of Cooperative Education Services for Food Waste Diversion Grant Pilot Program.
Moved by legislator Blankley, seconded by legislator Hugh Smith and Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all, yes, legislator Brew.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Let me rise to explain my vote rather than sitting down.
Yeah.
Yet again, we see another government-driven program that sounds good on paper but lacks real-world planning and accountability. To be honest, this to me is exactly the kind of feel-good initiative that prioritizes headlines over results. Republicans believe in practical solutions, not costly government experiments, and this so-called pilot program has no clear long-term funding plan, no accountability measures, and most concerning of all, completely ignores the expertise of our local Cornell Cooperative Extension, an organization that should be leading the charge on anything related to composting and sustainability. Why are we pushing ahead with this without experts?
Cornell Cooperative Extension is the best resource we have for these practices, yet they are not required to be all or part of this program. Taxpayers shouldn't be footing the bill for this initiative without real cost analysis or a roadmap for what happens beyond the pilot phase. We're setting up schools and ultimately taxpayers for another expensive, mismanaged program. We should be helping them focus on their core mission, not adding extra responsibilities under the guise of an optional program that could quickly expand to another bloated government initiative. If we're going to explore composting in schools, it should be only considered the right way, and that means bringing in Cornell Cooperative Extension, making sure that this is a real sustainable effort. I will hope that the county will consider to involve Cornell Extension and their local expertise and access to Cornell University's vast knowledge of all things composting. This would not be a large investment, but rather a very modest one given the value provided. That is why I'm voting no. We need responsible, expert-driven solutions, not another wasteful program pushed forward without an oversight plan. I therefore will be voting no.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to explain my vote as well and echo the sentiments shared by Leader Brew. For me, this isn't about opposing composting in schools. It's about making sure we do it the right way. If we're going to invest time, money, and resources into a pilot program, it needs to be built on expertise. I was surprised that Cornell Cooperative Extension was left out of the process. They are the leading experts in agricultural and environment best practices, and their involvement should have been a requirement. A successful program starts with the right partners. If this initiative truly aims to be effective and sustainable, the county should be working with CCE. This is why I won't be supporting this proposal as it stands. I would welcome a well-planned program that includes CCE and their subject matter experts. Thank you.
Thank you. I rise to explain my vote. First, I would like to commend the administration. After I brought up the part about Monroe County Cooperative Extension, they have reached out to them and initiated some discussions. But before I can support this type of initiative, I think those discussions with Cooperative Extension needs to be worked on and explored to the fullest before we make this step going forward. So at this time, I would oppose the vote of supporting of this project until we have time to fully vent what services or what knowledge they could bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Sinclair. Basic recycling programs of paper, cardboard, print containers are not being effectively. Before considering expansion into composting, we must ensure that existing waste management programs are functioning properly. Schools should first demonstrate their ability to manage standard recyclable materials before introducing a more complex system. Paper, cardboard, and drink containers make up a significant portion of what schools waste. These are materials not being properly sorted and recycled by schools. While white paper, cardboard is currently trading or being sold at $100 a ton, compost is going for about $3 a ton. Adding composting to an already ineffective system will only create more confusion and inefficiency. If schools cannot establish consistent recycling programs, there's little reason to believe that they will effectively manage composting initiatives. Before expanding waste management programs, schools should first be required to comply with and improve existing recycling efforts. This would also be a positive funding source for the schools. Food compost funding should be contingent upon schools meeting benchmarks for basic waste diversion. If they cannot recycle basic recyclables, why should we expect them to handle composting, which requires more meticulous sorting and maintenance? Composting requires training and consistent monitoring.
Schools struggling with basic recycling are unlikely to successfully implement a composting program without significant additional resources. Rather than allocating funds to an ambitious yet impractical food waste composting program, Monroe County should focus on requiring schools to implement effective recycling programs for traditional and valuable materials. Only after demonstrating success in these basic recycling programs should additional initiatives be considered. Public funds should be spent on programs with clear benefits and proven success, not on experimental projects in environments that have already failed to manage simpler waste diversion efforts. So for these reasons, I'd vote no.
Okay, thank you. Legislator Mill.
Thank you, Madam President. My comments will be much briefer, I'm sure, but I just wanted to state my reasoning for voting yes on this program. I have been approached by a couple of different school districts that I represent that do want to start the programs and do want to work on these types of initiatives, but they have also asked what I know about or what I can help them as far as getting some support. So yes, I agree with many of the things that have been said here already, but I do believe this is a worthy project to try to move forward. And I will vote yes, but I would also like to state that I do believe it is a mistake on our parts to not involve Cornell Cooperative Extension in this process. And I hope somehow moving forward, we can bring them into the table. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Baines.
Is this thing working?
Yes.
Thank you, legislator. Or Madam President. I was just meeting these young people behind me, explaining my vote from Aquinas Institute.
That's what I noticed.
President of the legislature graduated from there, in case you don't know that. This program is coming through kids. Kids are, and by the way, the idea that we're not recycling already in our schools, is that a fact that's been admitted into evidence? I spent 46 years in Rochester high schools, and efforts to recycle have been completely transformed, and those efforts in many cases are led by students, by the environmental clubs of those students. It was students who were at the heart and soul of our climate action plan. So, a couple things about this. I know that I'm a fiscal conservative. I vote no on stuff that I think is a waste. But we spend $1.5 billion a year in this chamber. And you guys are taking notes, write that down. And in case you want to contextualize that, that is 1,500 buckets with $1 million in it. That's 1.5 billion. It's almost hard to get your head around. These are $5,000 grants with a maximum spend of $50,000 in response to proposals from students where we're going to match local funds so that they can promote food waste and organics composting. So I think we should listen to the future. I don't think we should say to these kids, well, you can't do that because you didn't talk to Cornell Cooperative Extension. You know, I do think it would be wonderful to get these kids in touch with them, but we didn't tell them that. What we said to them was, we want to help you get these programs started. So yeah, I'm voting with an enthusiastic yes for this program. And I also want to thank Legislator Susan Hughes Smith for being the driving educator behind this program. I'm very proud to stand with her on it.
Perfect, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing up, Legislator Hammond. So I'll be voting yes on this one, but I do think that definitely all the points that were mentioned about using the Cornell Cooperative, it's really important as we move into composting and hopefully move into more composting. We have the right guys, we're doing it properly,
because that's, part of what I think the programs that I've been putting forward in this town of Gates are about reusing, recycling, and composting. Is the reason I will be voting yes on that. But I definitely think that my colleagues expressed very eloquently some of the issues that we blocked. Some of my colleagues are not voting that way. So I'm voting yes, but I hope that they're concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Houston.
To add to Legislator Bain's comments, that this is a pilot program, just to be clear. It provides schools to have the option of pursuing composting programs. Schools are not directed to use any particular purveyor of expertise. Schools, in fact, would be free to reach out to Cornell Cooperative Extension should they choose to. And I think that would be a wonderful idea because, schools and individuals should pursue freedom and should have the maximum ability to pursue the options that fit their needs the best. And so just to close, I'll explain my vote. In nature, there is no waste. By composting organics, we can reduce the amount of trash heading to landfills and the greenhouse gases being produced. Instead, composting will create a nutrient-rich material that can be added to soil. By partnering with our schools, we can take a step towards protecting the environment while inspiring another generation to care for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Point, yes.
According to the legislature, anybody should rise when they speak.
Yes.
And that's been a problem for my entire time in the legislature, that certain people do not stand when they're speaking to the body. So in the future, I'd like that enforced.
Thank you. Thank you for that point of order. Previously, I think, as you know, the microphones did not function in that way. I think we'll continue to see if these fantastic microphones and our investment work. And if they do, so be it. We will all stand. Right? Yep, no problem. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Any other discussion? Yeah, I shouldn't have said anything else, but any other discussion? No? Okay. Roll call vote. Thank
Roll
you.
call vote. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes yes. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes yes. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick votes yes. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy votes yes. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Cruz is excused. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio.
No.
DeFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Ms. Hugh Smith. Ms. Hugh Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes no. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes no. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes yes. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes no. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair votes no. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. President Roman.
Yes.
President Roman votes yes. 20-8, resolution passes.
Okay.
Item number 6, referral 25-0036, authorization to rename Lakefront Lodge located in Webster Park to Jameson Ritter Memorial Lodge.
Moved by legislator Baines, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons, and I heard another
Is there anybody that doesn't want to say?
Listra. And this is the part of the rules, but we can say everyone, it sounds like.
Is there anybody that doesn't want a second this before we just mark them all as seconds?
All right.
Good with that? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Legislator Dondorfer.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make my comment, welcome Maya Carriolo
and her entire Aquinas class. I too am a graduate of Aquinas, so I had to get
Okay.
that in there also. Thank you, Legislator Baines. You know your parents put me up for that, right? But I would like to explain my vote on a very serious topic, which is renaming the lodge. Officer Ritter was a shining example of service and sacrifice and the very values that we hold dear as Americans in our community. He answered the call to service, first in the military and then in law enforcement, dedicating his life to protecting others, and that is a true definition of a hero. Tragically, Officer Ritter made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty, giving his life to uphold law and order. We owe him our deepest gratitude. While we can never fully repay the debt we owe him, renaming Lakefront Lodge in his honor is a way for Monroe County to show our lasting appreciation for his courage and sacrifice. This will stand as a permanent reminder that we support our law enforcement here and afar, and we honor those who serve, and that we will never forget those who gave their lives to keep us safe. Officer Ritter embodied the very best in law enforcement in his military community, and he deserves his name to be remembered and his story deserves to be told. I'm proud to support this resolution, and I also urge my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Mark Johns.
Yeah, I rise in support of this resolution. I was honored to co-sponsor it. Jamison Ritter is from my hometown, from Webster. The Ritter family is well-known and well-respected out there. Jamison Ritter gave his life in the duty to the citizens of Cleveland. He was a Cleveland police officer. Unfortunately, we see too often that officers are wounded and killed in the line of duty. And leaving that aside, there's some background that not everybody would know. We've had a lot of tragedies like this. Out in Webster, on December 24th, 2012, that was, some people may remember it, there was an incident where a man lit up some houses down on Lake Road, right on the lakefront, and some cars. And then when the first responders, the firefighters came down there, he sits on the other side of the street shooting at him. Killed two young men down there, Lieutenant Mike Ciapparini of the Webster Police Force, who was volunteering as a firefighter that morning. 5:30 in the morning, on Christmas Eve morning, he gave his life. Thomas Chuska also down there gave his life. There were two other firefighters wounded that day. Think about what those families think. Christmas Eve morning every year, you have to remember that. Jamison Ritter gave his life on the 4th of July, 12 years after that, 2024. The reason why I'm bringing up the situation down on Lake Road is because there's another part of the story not everybody knows about, but John Ritter, Jamison Ritter's father, he was a police officer, retired now from the Greece Police Department. He was driving on his way to work down along Lake Road, realized there was gunshots coming across the street. Didn't drive on like most of us would do, stopped his car, backed up. Some of the bullets hit his car, but he was trying to protect the innocent people on the other side of the street. Fortunately, he didn't get too hurt. There was some shrapnel, glass breaking. But this is a family, the Ritter family, that's not only well-known in Webster for what sacrifices they've made, but the fact that they're willing to stand for us in dangerous situations. So I'm honored to be able to co-sponsor this legislation. Look forward to the ceremony for this new lakefront pavilion that we have down at Webster Park. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Jordan.
I'd also like to rise as a representative from the Webster community, state that it is both a privilege and honor to have been part of the production of such a wonderful officer. And we in the Webster community are all proud of what he's accomplished, and also saddened by what occurred on that day. I'd like to conclude by saying, Webster, of course, life is worth living. Thank Mr. Ritter embodied that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Marks. Going to the hospital because someone is being arrested and
been in, and was in a coma, and he sat by the gentleman's bed every day. He was a compassionate law enforcement officer, and that's what we should be remembering today. The stories told about him as having a sense of humor, saving stray cats. There was no one that he wasn't willing to reach out to and help. And so as we're all sitting up today, often we name these civilians. I remember being at a meeting when they were talking about veterans, all we name civilians as politicians, but rarely for our veterans and for our law enforcement. And I am so happy, and I was so happy when I saw this come up, that we are renaming this pavilion for Jameson Ritter, because I've met his family. They are truly, John Ritter, his mother, they are truly remarkable.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 7, referral 25-0037, accepting funding from New York State Office for the Aging and authorizing contract with Lifespan of Greater Rochester for the Medicare Improvements for Patients and Providers Act.
Moved by legislator Hasman, seconded by legislator Mafucci, and thank you. Any discussion? Yes, legislator Smith.
Through the president to the administration, I want to thank Steve Newcomb and his team for the excellent job they're doing to assist our senior residents in Monroe County. We're incredibly lucky to have this department in our community, and it is a program that is supported across the board. I was happy to see in this referral that funds will be going to help older adults apply for Medicare B and Part D, which if you have a senior in your family, you may have heard this can be very confusing to understand. Funding and outreach is one of the goals of the Medicare Improvements for Patients and Providers Act. Will any of these funds be used to do a broad outreach throughout Monroe County?
Through the president, yes, there'll be outreach conducted at various locales where older adults reside. I'll provide you with a few examples. Dialysis centers around Monroe County, partnering with the VA, approaching the Centro de Oro Senior Center, Common Ground Health Education Partnership for City Outreach. There are a few examples of where this outreach is going to occur. And it's primarily where low-income people of color reside.
Thank you. And through the president to the administration, a key goal of the Medicare Improvements for Patients and Providers Act is to maintain access in rural areas. Are we using any of these funds of the $71,699 for rural areas?
With the president, yes, we are. When we get directives for rural areas, a lot of times it's coupled with underserved urban folks. So we put just as much emphasis on serving folks in the urban settings as folks that are residing in rural areas who lack access and means to have a good approach to health insurance and what would be best for them.
Thank you. And through the president to the administration, I see on the purchase of services information form under primary performance measure and indicators that the previous year, the success of the program was 295 successful applications out of 375. And in the following year, numbers jumped to 868 successful applications out of 900. And this coming year, 1,050 with 945 success applications is be projected. Why the major jump in applications? Is this due to the additional funds of the 26,000 on this, or the large number of seniors we have in Monroe County, or both?
Through the president, it's a combo platter. We did receive additional dollars last year on top of this year, so we're able to serve more people. Lifespan has more volunteers. Insurance issues are becoming more complex, more choices, more confusion. So I'd say it's a combo platter.
Thank you. To the president, I just want to explain my vote. I was happy to see there was an increase of 26,255 this year. Monroe County is home to more than 183,969 seniors, approximately 25% of the county's total population. Projections indicate Monroe County's senior population will surpass 215,000 by 2030.
further amplifying the urgency for more funding to our seniors through our Office of the Aging through federal, state, and county funds. Thank you for taking the time to answer my questions. I plan to vote in the affirmative tonight for this referral.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator,
President, it just so happens that I was at the Elder Council meeting today. And at that meeting, it was announced that in 2023, the last time this was done, Rochester, New York was the #1 city in the country for aging in place. #1 city in the country. Thank you.
thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Any Any opposed? Okay, item carries. Next item.
Item number 11, referral 25-0041, authorizing a contract with Rural Housing Opportunities Corporation to provide construction management services for leading and lead prevention pilot program.
Moved by legislator Hasnet, seconded by legislator Mafucci and Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Yes, legislator Baines.
I'd like to explain my vote, and I have one question. During the Ways and Means meeting, it turns out it took me about 9 minutes to get all my questions answered about this referral. And I chided the chair later that I thought the answers were so thorough that they took up most of the time. So I don't know about this 5-minute rule. I'd like to talk about that some other time. But I was so impressed by the administrator who responded, and I was ashamed when I was bragging about her that I never learned her name or didn't hear it with my aged ears. So my question is, who is the county employee administrator who was so fantastic and precise and granular and comprehensive in all of her answers to my question about this important program?
At the committee?
Yes, at the committee meeting.
Through you, Madam President, that is Star O'Neill. She's the head of our environmental health division within the Department of Public Health, and you are absolutely correct. She's a very detailed and excellent employee. Thank you. I'll take that feedback back to her.
And yes, and her name is Sarah?
Star.
Star O'Neill.
Sean O'Neill.
No.
Star, like a star in the sky, but with an extra R.
Proving the problem with the hearing.
Yeah.
I just want to say, and especially with a few young people still here, we often talk about how we aren't doing anything to help people in tough circumstances. And when I learned about the way that our county works so hard, I didn't know there were billboards to remind parents to get their children to their 1-year-old and 2-year-old visits, and that we track every 1- and 2-year-old for lead levels, that our health department is working so hard to deal with lead levels in children, which are absolutely devastating to their ability to thrive and learn. So I just want to say, I won't take 7 minutes this time, or 8, maybe it was 9, Mr. Chairman, but I just think this is such a wonderful program. It's $2.5 million that we're receiving in a grant. It will trigger 2 more $2.5 million grants in the next 2 years. And I'm so enthusiastic about this program and voting yes for it. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, item carries. Next item. Item number 12.
Item number 12, referral 25-0042, authorizing intermunicipal agreement with Town of Clarkson for East Avenue Sidewalk Extension Project, partially funded through Monroe County, appropriating committed fund balance and authorizing interfund transfer.
Moved by legislator Blankley, seconded by legislator Burgess and legislator Mafucci, as well as legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? We're gonna have item, item carries. Next item. Okay. Thank you very much. Item,
Item number 16,
mhm.
referral number 25-0046, accepting grant from New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for Operation Stone Garden Program and authorizing intermunicipal agreements with towns of Greece, Arundequoit, and Webster.
Moved by legislator Blankley, second by legislator Long and Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Yes, legislator Barnhart.
Thank you. I'm rising to explain my vote with this trusty new microphone. Operation Stone Garden is a border security grant, but our sheriff says it is not primarily about border and it's not primarily about immigration enforcement. Well, maybe today it's not, but tomorrow we don't know. There are no guarantees, and we're not allowed to see the agreement. We're not allowed to see reports or outcomes. We are not allowed to know what other agreements currently exist. And the sheriff is not clear about how he currently collaborates with ICE and won't answer what he's willing to do in the future about immigration enforcement, including the use of our jail for civil detainment. The sheriff says he won't answer hypotheticals, but we are past hypotheticals. At the National Sheriff's Association gathering last month, Border Czar Ton Homan asked sheriffs for the use of their jails. He made it clear he doesn't care about family separation and is totally fine with deputies engaging in civil detainment. Homan is under pressure from the President of the United States, frustrated with the pace of arrests, is demanding that ICE quickly find new groups of people to deport. Despite promising to only target criminals, which I think most of us are totally okay with, we are seeing families ripped apart. We're seeing hard workers put behind bars, people who've been here for a long time. We saw a pregnant woman detained at Rochester General Hospital and denied the ability to talk to an attorney. A New York City activist with a green card is detained and shipped across the country charged with no crime, threatened with deportation just because of his speech. This is not the time to enter into this agreement. If the sheriff needs funds for equipment or for overtime, let's find it another way. There will be no sheriff and no elected official across this country who is going to be able to play both sides of this immigration debate for very long. I am choosing to take a stand today. I am voting against the discrimination of immigrants, and I am voting against the violation of their rights. And so I will be voting no.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Bonnet.
Am I on?
Yes.
It's not on?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I rise to explain my vote. I too will be voting no against this grant. And for this reason, up until recently, I had no problem with the grant. You know, I looked at the ways that it was benefiting our community, and I felt that this was a grant I could have supported until most recently. I sat in on the public safety meeting, and one of my colleagues who is absent today had sought a clear definition from the sheriff of how, you know, using this grant, how will he collaborate, or if he was collaborating with Department of Homeland Security, specifically ICE, in the detention of immigrants.
The sheriff office was unclear about their involvement, and their answers were vague at best, which led me to do my own homework and research on this grant. In the process of doing said homework, an event occurred that has now caused me to pivot from supporting this grant to saying no to this grant. I need clear directives from our law enforcement officers, the sheriff, of what their collaboration with specifically Customs and Border Patrol looks like. My colleague spoke of the recent detention of a pregnant mother, how she came into the custody of Customs and Border Patrol is not up for debate or discussion tonight. We know that she did not engage Customs and Border Patrol initially on her own. She was transferred to their custody. At a time when the President of this United States is sending a directive for mass deportation across this community, I need clear understanding of how law enforcement in my community will address this issue of cooperating with any agency that is under federal body of Department of Homeland Security. I'm sorry. This issue resonates with me very personally. And what occurred with that pregnant mother should not have occurred and would not have occurred because on her own, she would not have been able to engage Customs and Border Patrol without the help of other officials from this community. That being said, I am going to vote no to this grant until the sheriff office can be clear about their engagement with these agencies when it comes to I'm sorry, my vote is no on this issue.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Dornberger. Oh, I don't think I saw another one.
Thank you. I just have a couple questions through you to the administration.
Yes.
Does the Stone Garden Operations Order allow you to enforce any U.S. immigration laws?
Through the president, no, it doesn't. In fact, it specifically prohibits us from enforcing immigration laws.
Thank you. Through you, Madam President, to the administration. Is the wording regarding this contract this year the same or pretty similar to it in years past? It's my understanding that this has been going on for 16 or 18 years. Is this the same wording, or is the wording changed in this operation?
Through the president, this wording was written last year in 2024, and it's been consistent to the best of my knowledge. Okay, any other questions? Legislator Baines.
Madam President, I'd like to explain my vote. There's two reasons why I will be voting yes. The first one is that Stone Garden is designed to have local law enforcement keep an eye on the border. And I'm not in favor of a federal police force working for the federal government, current or prior, doing that work. They don't know our community. They don't recognize anomalies. And I'm very comfortable, more comfortable anyway, with law enforcement under the direction of our elected sheriff patrolling the shoreline and the northern border of the United States in Monroe County. But the second thing is, I think when we ask law enforcement about every eventuality when they are engaged with a defendant, and I guess I'll pull out my, I was a judge for 10 years hat here. If individuals are arrested for misdemeanors and felonies, you can't guarantee what's going to happen after that because they're entered into the system. They're fingerprinted,
and the Department of Criminal Justice of New York State has their fingerprints. They have partner law enforcement agencies all over the country, in some ways all over the world. And we want them to have those partnerships. So if individuals are arrested, can the sheriff of this county guarantee that that will not activate a connection with another law enforcement agency? Of course, the sheriff can't guarantee that, nor should we even be asking him, because it's a fact that he can't. So for those reasons, I'll be voting yes on this funding. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Smith. I'll get you.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you to the administration, just to clarify yet again, if this grant was to be declined, it would just mean the local taxpayers of Monroe County have to foot the bill and the program would still continue. Is that correct?
Through the president, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Legislator Bonnet. Here is not the grant and what it does. I need the sheriff's office, and Legislator Baines indicated that if the sheriff engages someone and put them under arrest, that puts them in the system. Not necessarily, Legislator Baines. The sheriff has said that he doesn't work with ICE. They doesn't report to ICE. They doesn't ask anyone that they take into their custody. They don't ask for their immigration status. So that does not trigger anything unless that sheriff office reaches out to Customs and Border Patrol and said, we have someone here that you're interested in. The recent engagement of this young mother that has caused me to be voting no, she was not arrested. She was not taken into custody, but somehow Customs and Border Patrol was alerted to her presence here. This is a woman that was in a very advanced stage of pregnancy. She has a family. She has 2 minor children who she has not seen since she came into. Yes. I uphold that. Do you have a question, Legislator Bonnet? I am explaining my vote. That's what I'm doing. I'm explaining my vote as a no towards this grant. What I'm saying is I am a no vote because I still don't have a clear. Yes. This is a follow-up. This is a follow-up as to my reason for saying no. The point was made that when a detainee comes into the custody of the sheriff's office, that the sheriff has no. So I will allow the legislator, I will not uphold the point of order. I will allow the legislator to finish explaining her vote. She did stop as she needed to gather herself. Not sure if you all could see it.
Not supposed to let another legislator repeat speaking to all legislators have the chance the first time. And I do know there's another legislator in this chamber that should have the opportunity to speak before she spoke the second time.
Okay, no problem. Is it Mill? I'm not sure who. Yes. Noble did not stand. So I will make that point. Phyllis. Rise to address the Yes, body. Legislator Bonnet, if you could just finish. I do not have a clear understanding of the sheriff's office involvement when it comes to Customs and Border Patrol. That has not been made clear to me. And as a result of recent events, I am now a no on this grant. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, Legislator Moon.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise to explain my vote. As legislators, our duties are to review specific motions, resolutions, and notices. And while we often have opinions, and I respect all those opinions, I believe these meetings are to vote on the business at hand and not go off on tangents that are not consistent with the task at hand. This is a program that is run by the Monroe County Sheriff's Department through federal funding processed through the state of New York. This saves Monroe County taxpayers money, and this program would be run by the same sheriffs without this funding and cost taxpayers more money. Thus, I will be approving, my vote will be to approve this motion. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Any other discussion? Legislator Huston.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you to the administration, are sheriffs required to report when they contact Border Patrol?
Through the president, no.
Thank you. I'd like to explain my vote. So I've been a teacher for over 20 years in the state, this excellent state of New York. And all that time, we've had a failed federal immigration policy. All that time, there have been U.S. citizens with relatives who are undocumented. And the knowledge that local law enforcement, whether they're towns or villages or sheriffs, collaborate with Border Patrol means that those kids have no one to turn to when they are having a problem, when they are unsafe. So I will always vote for kids because their safety should be paramount. So I will be voting no for collaborating with the Border Patrol. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator McCabe.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in strong support of accepting this critical grant for Operation Stone Guard, which will directly enhance the safety and security of Monroe County and the towns of Webster, Greece, and Arundequoit. Operation Stone Garden is designed to protect our communities from threats by illegal activity along our northern border, just a few miles away from Monroe County. Drugs, murder, human trafficking, to just name a few. This funding will ensure that our local law enforcement agencies have the resources they need to work alongside their law enforcement partners and keep dangerous individuals, illicit drugs, and human traffickers from harming our residents. Let's be clear about what's happening here today. Monroe County was awarded this grant, and yet, as we've seen time and time again, liberal politicians are more concerned about their extreme open border ideology than they are about protecting the people they were elected to serve. Their opposition is reckless and dangerous. They're telling the people of Monroe County they don't support giving law enforcement the resources to protect their neighborhoods. They're telling our hardworking deputies and officers that they would rather virtue signal than give them the support they need to do
There's
their
a point in
jobs.
order. There's a point of order on the floor.
I'm explaining my vote.
Okay. Yes, please finish
Thank
with
you.
explaining your vote.
They would rather virtual signal than give them the support they need to do their jobs effectively. Meanwhile, the violent crime is on the rise across the state. Illegal drugs continue to come in, and deadly fentanyl is devastating families right here in Monroe County from across the border. Every single day, our law enforcement officers are on the front lines against these threats. Why would anyone stand in their way? This is about common sense. This is about law and order, and this is about public safety. And this is about supporting the men and women who put their lives, like Jameson Ritter, on the line to keep us safe. I urge my colleagues to stand with law enforcement, to stand with the people of Monroe County, and to reject this radical anti-police, soft on crime agenda that puts politics ahead of public safety. I will proudly vote yes to accept this grant to support our law enforcement and protect our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? 1 second. Anyone else? Legislator? Anyone else? Any other discussion? Okay.
I have
Over
a
time,
question.
Legislator Bonney.
Again, I rise and I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement who come out of their homes every day to protect and to serve us. I will do everything that within reason to make sure that you get everything you need to do your job effectively. I have a question, Madam Chair, to you, President, to
Administration, yes.
to the administration. Within the last 5 years, how many illegal guns
and drugs have been taken off the shorelines of Ontario and Monroe County? How many?
Through the president, the way that question was worded, I'm not able to answer it.
I believe, go ahead.
Through me to the administration, is there a response to how many guns have been detained from our waterways?
Madam President, would
Or
you be referring
confiscated.
to any specific operation or in total through all sheriff's office efforts?
I'd actually like to all sheriff office because I'll explain my vote.
Okay, Madam President, I wouldn't have that information with me.
Okay, thank you. Would you happen to have that information about Operation Stone Garden? Through me.
Madam President, over the last 4 years, we've had 0 illegal gun investigations, and we've had 3 illegal narcotics investigations as a result of Operation Stone Garden efforts.
Okay, thank you.
Influx of drugs and guns, as our legislator over there tried to point out.
Is that a question, Legislator Bonnick, or are we?
Just a comment, a question to, yeah, through you, Madam President, to my esteemed colleague over there.
It's okay. Okay, any other questions, Legislator Bonnick? Okay, thank you. I will now explain my vote. Any other discussion? Okay, the Stone Garden Grant, as I understand it, is a federal grant program designed to enhance the cooperation and coordination between local, tribal, territorial, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to secure the U.S. borders. It specifically focuses on funding, overtime, travel, and equipment for law enforcement agencies working to prevent terrorism and other border-related crimes. In the contents of Monroe County, of which I've had multiple conversations about Operation Stone Garden for the last 5 years, the grant has been used to support efforts in areas near our international borders of which I represent, the US and Canadian border and waterways. Monroe County has received Stone Garden funding for the last 15 years to strengthen patrols, enhance surveillance technology, and yes, foster collaboration with federal agencies like US Border Patrol and counterterrorism measures. I truly understand the concerns of the community regarding the Sheriff's Department collaboration with Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. However, in my opinion, it is important to clarify that Operation Stone Garden is not directly tied to those specific concerns. Operation Stone Garden, as was mentioned, has funded overtime, equipment, resources for local law enforcement agencies. The goal is to prevent terrorism, combat cross-border criminal activity, and strengthen coordination between local, state, and federal agencies. While collaboration with federal entities like Border Patrol may occur in the context of border security, the grant itself does not mandate or facilitate immigration enforcement activities typically associated with ICE. Instead, they are used for supporting efforts to monitor our waterways, as I mentioned, for human trafficking and other security threats, as was mentioned, drug trafficking tonight, not for conducting immigration raids or detentions, of which I will continue to have conversations with the Sheriff's Department to ensure that all appropriate policies and procedures are occurring over the duration of my tenure as a legislator. It's crucial to distinguish these functions to ensure transparency and address community concerns directly. I do appreciate the need for this ongoing conversation and advocacy for immigrant communities that this grant seems to bring up annually. However, this funding allows law enforcement agencies to better address cross-border threats and other criminal activities by ensuring our officers have the resources they need to patrol border areas effectively and efficiently. And for that reason, I will be voting in the affirmative. Thank you all so much. Roll call vote, please. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes yes. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes yes. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes no. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes no. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick votes no. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy votes yes. Colby votes yes. Mr. Cruz is excused. Ms. Delvecchio-Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio-Hoffman votes no. Mrs. DeFlorio.
Yes.
Mrs. DeFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes no. Ms. Hugh Smith. Ms. Hugh Smith votes no. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes yes. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes yes. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes yes. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair votes yes. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes no. President Roman.
Yes.
President Roman votes yes. 21-7, resolution passes.
Thank you.
Item number 18, referral 25-0048, authorizing in rem tax foreclosure action number 149.
Moved by legislator Mafucci, second by legislator Udelson. Is there any discussion? Legislator Vasquez Simmons.
Thank you. I rise to explain my vote. 2025 Lifespan Annual Report indicates that Monroe County has one of the largest aging populations, many aging in place. I feel that Monroe County hasn't done enough to reach this population. Many who own their homes for generations. Foreclosures are pushing many to homelessness, contributing to our chronic crisis. So I'll be voting no on this.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have legislator Vasquez Simmons and legislator Hugh Smith. 26-2, resolution passes. Item number 23, referral 25-0090, confirming amount of annual expense for mortgage recording tax expenses and certifying same to the New York State Tax Commission.
Moved by legislator Mafucci, seconded by legislator Udelson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, item carries.
Item number 24, referral 25-0091, confirmation of appointment to the Monroe County Library System Board of Trustees.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries.
Item number 25, referral 25-0092, confirming appointments to the Monroe County Traffic Safety Board.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item carries. There being no unfinished business, legislator Udelson.
6 p.m.
Meeting adjourned.